Once upon a time, between great mountains and green plains, lived two tribes named Uruz and Uruz. These two tribes were like brothers. The people always supported each other and spent their days in joy. Their lives were very peaceful. They worked in the fields and gathered around large fires in the evenings to tell stories. The most beloved person in the Uruz tribe was a young and brave man named Bayrak. Bayrak had won everyone's love not only with his strength, but also with the purity of his heart. Bayrak's eyes sparkled brightly, and every smile of his brought happiness to the tribe. Children would gather around him to listen to his stories, while the elders admired his courage and justice. Bayrak would wake up early every morning and compete with the young people of the tribe. No one could match him in archery and horseback riding. In competitions, he was always fair and would console the losers. "What matters is not winning, but having fun together," he would say. That's why everyone respected and loved him deeply. The tribe was very hardworking. Women wove beautiful carpets in front of the tents, men harvested wheat in the fields, and children played by the river, building towers of stones and laughing heartily. This peaceful life was like a dream for everyone. But one day, something unexpected happened in the Uruz tribe. Some of the tribe's elders, thinking that the Uruz were stronger, wanted to disrupt this balance of friendship. The leader of Uruz grew very angry when he heard these thoughts. In their view, both tribes should now go their separate ways. At that moment, Bayrak was organizing a competition with his friends. They were shooting arrows at targets and laughing joyfully. But the tribe's sage came to him and whispered something. A slight shadow fell over Bayrak's face, for he now sensed that these peaceful days were coming to an end. The fate of Uruz and Uruz was about to change, but no one knew exactly how it would happen. The friendship between Uruz and Uruz used to be very strong. The two tribes were like members of the same family, but over time, jealousy and mistrust crept between them. Some elders of Uruz resented that Uruz was wealthier. "Why aren't we as strong as them? Why don't we have as much influence as they do?" They began to grumble. These thoughts reached the leader of Uruz. Influenced by these complaints, he called his advisors one day. "Let this brotherhood with Uruz end," he declared. "We must chart our own path, but first, we must break their power." This decision caused the old friendship between the two tribes to crack. The Uruz, however, were unaware of the situation. They continued their daily routines, gathering around the fire in the evenings to sing songs. But Uruz was quietly making plans. They began assembling their warriors to attack Uruz. One day, the leader of Uruz sent a messenger to the leader of Uruz, with whom Bayrak was friends. The messenger delivered a hostile message. "Uruz is no longer your brother. Either submit to us or prepare for war." The Uruz people were shocked by this news. Everyone gathered in a large square. Their leader said, "We must resolve this situation peacefully." But Bayrak knew it wouldn't be easy. That night, he retreated to his tent and thought long and hard. "Uruz was our brother," he reflected. "How can we restore peace instead of fighting them?" The next morning, Bayrak mounted his horse early and rode to speak with the leader of Uruz. He wanted to calm him and persuade him to be friends again. But the leader of Uruz was furious. He wouldn't listen to Bayrak. "You're the hero of Uruz," he mocked. "But you won't win this war," Bayrak returned sadly. War now seemed inevitable. The Uruz people began preparing for battle. Children and elders were sent to a safe place, while the men sharpened their swords and readied their arrows. Yet Bayrak still held on to hope. Perhaps at the last moment, a miracle would occur and prevent this fraternal conflict. But in his heart, he feared much would be lost in this war. As the first light of dawn touched the tribe's tents, the Uruz people stood in deep silence. The army of Uruz had already set out, and war seemed unavoidable. But Bayrak was still searching for a glimmer of hope. Early that morning, Bayrak went to his leader. "Trust us," he said resolutely. There is something more important than winning this war, regaining our brotherhood. The leader, admiring Bayrak's courage and faith in peace, gave him full support. Bayrak immediately gathered his closest friends and began devising a plan. He believed the Tarf-O's army had to be stopped before reaching the tribe. So he decided to form a small but brave group to confront the enemy forces. At sunrise, Bayrak and his friends mounted their horses and set off. Along the way, Bayrak encouraged his companions, "Remember, we are not here to fight. We will remind them of our friendship. If we have any chance, we must resolve this with peace." Finally, they encountered the Tarf-O's army. The enemy leader smiled when he saw Bayrak and spoke mockingly. "You and this small group are going to stop us. This must be a joke." But Bayrak calmly dismounted and stepped before the leader. "We have not come to fight but to talk," he said. "Once we were brothers. If we wage this war, we only harm ourselves. We need each other. Friendship is stronger than war." The enemy soldiers were astonished by these words, for Bayrak's voice was firm and sincere. Yet the leader of Tarf-O's refused to let go of his anger. "Your pretty words cannot stop us," he said, and just as the war was about to begin, Bayrak took another step forward. "If you insist on fighting, then fight me first," he shouted. This bold move stunned both friends and foes alike. Bayrak's courage deeply moved the Tarf-O's soldiers. Some of them began murmuring, "Why should we fight our brothers?" At that moment, the leader of Tarf-O's hesitated. Faced with Bayrak's bravery, his anger slowly subsided. But he decided to set a test. "Very well," he said. "If you can defeat us, I will end this war. But if you lose, Us will submit." Bayrak accepted the challenge. Standing alone, he drew his sword. This was not just a battle. It was a struggle to save brotherhood. As the tribe watched Bayrak's courage with admiration, their trust in him grew stronger in their hearts. Silence reigned on the battlefield. Everyone held their breath, watching the encounter between Bayrak and the leader of Tarf-O's. Bayrak's courage and calmness had impressed not only the O's, but also the Tarf-O's soldiers. Gripping his sword tightly, Bayrak stepped forward. Yet one thought remained in his mind. "I raise my sword only for friendship, not enmity." With this resolve, he walked up to the enemy leader and said, "This war will have no winner. But if we win peace, both sides will be happy. Let us try to be friends again." The leader of Tarf-O's paused for a moment. The determination and bravery in Bayrak's words moved him deeply. When he looked at his own soldiers, he realized they didn't want war either. One of them whispered, "This hero speaks the truth. Brothers should not fight each other." The leader took a deep breath and laid down his sword. "Bayrak," he said, "you are truly a hero. Your words have softened our hearts. I am ending this war." With these words, everyone's faces lit up. The warriors of Tarf-O's were no longer enemies but friends once more. A grand celebration was held in the tribe. Everyone prepared food, sang songs and danced around the fire. Bayrak quietly withdrew to a corner, watching this happiness. For him, the greatest reward was seeing the two brother tribes living in peace. He thought to himself, fighting for peace is always the right path. Yet everyone knew what a great hero Bayrak was. Children grew up emulating his courage. Elders told his story by the nighttime fire. Bayrak's name echoed in every corner of the tribe. One day, his friend approached him and said, "Bayrak, you are not just our hero, you are the hero of all O's. We will never forget you." Bayrak smiled and replied, "Heroism is not just about the sword. The greatest heroism is choosing peace."